Okay, for this video, we're going to tie a foam grasshopper. And this is a really buggy looking foam grasshopper. I generally fish with this hopper when I'm not trying to necessarily match the pattern of the grasshoppers that the fish are feeding on, but mainly just looking for something big and buggy that catches their attention. So a lot of foam and a lot of rubber legs on this thing, and that's basically it. So just a real buggy foam grasshopper. I don't really have a name for it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our thread on the hook, and I like to give the hook a good base of thread because we're going to be attaching the foam to it, and a lot of times you get that base on there, it helps the foam fasten to the hook a little better so that it doesn't try to wrap around the hook when you're tying it. So get a little bit of a base. Okay, snip that off. All right, so we're going to start with two different strips of foam. We're going to have a gray strip of foam and a yellow strip of foam, both 2 millimeter thick foam. And the hook we're using is a size 6 2x long dry fly hook. I like to use a relatively large hook because this is like I said, this is a big buggy looking fly. So, all right, I place my foam, the yellow on the bottom, gray on top. I'm going to tie it in right about there. And if that isn't quite, if I leave a little bit too much sticking back, then I'll be able to trim that off here at the end of the fly. But okay, first couple wraps are loose, and then I just slowly get tighter. And when I first tie this in, I like to get quite a few good tight wraps on there because it's where the beginning of the fly starts. So get it nice and tight here. There we go. Then we'll do a little bit of work. Okay. All right, now I'm going to take my thread and wrap it up here towards the front, stopping a little shy of the eyelet because we're going to do a little bit of work up here as well. So once I get to there, then I'm going to tie the foam off again. Okay. Once I get that tied off, then I'll bring the thread up towards the front again, and keeping the foam together, I'm going to tie it off again. All right, so this is the beginning of our fly. Now, just to give this body of the fly a little bit more of a grasshoppery profile, I'm going to work backwards with my thread, and as I do that, I'm going to work back, and as I work back, I will slowly wrap. I'm trying to make the segments of my foam about the same size each time. That wasn't quite enough. I got to go a little further. Okay, so get in a couple of wraps. Then I'll come to the top of the fly, and I'll go back again. Get a couple of wraps in the same exact spot. Then again over the back of the fly. I'm going to try to split the difference here on this. And over the top again. Okay, so now I've got all of these segments of this fly where the thread was wrapped over the top of the back. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing coming forward, but the thread's going to be crisscrossing the previous wraps. So I'm going to bring it right up here, get it in that little segment. Usually get one wrap in, and then I go to the next segment. And if you're looking down from the top, you'll be able to see basically I'm creating a little X. Just making a little X with my thread on the top. Oh, I came too far that time actually. I want to end my thread right here. Okay, so we've got a good looking body on this fly now, a lot of foam on there. What we're going to do with these two pieces of extra foam is I'm actually going to pull this gray foam back, going to tie it off, and now my wraps on this gray foam, I'm not going to try to do too many tight wraps, as I want this gray foam to sit along the back of the fly. I don't want it to be flared up. If I really tighten down that thread, that foam is going to flare up. So I'm going to do pretty loose wraps so that it stays closer towards the back of the top of the fly until okay. And my next one, I'm going to take that yellow and I'm going to wrap it as well. Now these wraps can be a little bit tighter, so I got to get a good fasten here. I want to get it nice and fastened down, so I'm going to, not too much because we do have an awful lot of foam up there, so we wrap it too tight and things get a little bit more out of control. So okay, there we've got kind of a grasshopper wing there coming over. We'll definitely trim that, but now the next thing that we're going to put in here is the rubber legs. So I like to use larger rubber legs. Sometimes people prefer to use what's called silly legs. They're little silicone legs, and they work great. I like the rubber legs. They have a little bit more rigidity to them, so they tend to be easier to work with. So I'm going to use some chartreuse rubber legs here. We're going to tie those in just like this. I'm going to tie them in on the top. I actually prefer the back to be a little longer than the front, so you'll notice this is longer than that. Get about 3 loose wraps, and then I'm going to notice there's two rubber legs here. They're actually attached together. That's how they come when you buy them. I like to tie them as one unit until I get to this point, and then I take my scissors and I run them through. If you've watched other videos that I do this. Makes it easier to work with the rubber legs, and I just pull up, get those split apart, and then I grab each rubber leg, just kind of pull. Since I've only done 3 soft wraps, they pull right to the side, right where I want them. Now that I've got them where I want them, I'm gonna do a little bit of work here to make sure they don't twist on me. So I'm gonna do a little bit tighter wrapping. Okay, there we go. All right, so we've got all of our materials tied in. Last step is I'm going to whip finish this fly, then we'll take it off the vise and maybe do a little bit of trimming on some of that extra foam, and that's it. Okay, I'm going to whip finish right there. Sometimes because of the amount of foam that gets tied in right here, I will put a little bit of fly head cement on there just to keep it from maybe twisting on me. But if you tie the fly relatively tight up here at the head, you actually shouldn't have too much difficulty with the fly twisting on you. So I'm going to snip the thread right there, and I definitely don't want wings that stick that far back, so I'm going to go right to the back of the fly and then try to go maybe 1/8 of an inch beyond there, and that's where my grasshopper wing will extend to. So okay, and the last thing is, don't really like having that, so I'm going to snip it. Oop, come on, there we go. Okay, that is just like I said, I don't really have a name for it, but just a real buggy foam grasshopper. Works great, easy to tie, and really not many materials. 2 strips of foam and some rubber legs, and I tie it in all different colors and sizes. So there it is.